Well, thanks for your company. The minority in Parliament is accusing the Finance Minister of cover-up after he told MPs he cannot give details of the cost of the President's recent foreign trips. The Minister says issues of the President's travels are national security issues, and the National Security Minister is the best person to respond to such questions. Minority spokesperson on finance, Kesel Atoforsing, says the response is disrespectful. He's been addressing a media briefing.
Speaker, as I indicated in my response to the question from Honorable Samuel Kujata Blacko, the air travel for the President, including the cost for the advanced team, flight arrangements, security, accommodation, and air tickets, are coordinated operationally between the Office of the Government Machinery and National Security Secretariat. Mr. Speaker, as I stated earlier, the President's domestic and international travels are matters to do with national security. The National Security Minister is best placed to furnish this Honorable House with the details that are needed. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, you heard the Finance Minister's response. Now, let's listen to the minority spokesperson on finance.
For the Minister to appear before us and refer the matter again to the Minister responsible for national security and the Chief of Staff, we find it unacceptable. We urge our Minister responsible for finance to come back once again to revisit the powers that he has, because he has every power. He's the supervising minister for all financial matters in this country. So it is very unfair for him to have come to Parliament and made a categorical statement that he's not in a position to provide us that information. In fact, the matter is even worse when you decide to look at how GIFMIS operates. The GIFMIS system is so simple. If before they spend on anything, you have to initiate it. The Minister of Finance will have to accept it before a warrant will be issued, and the money before you can even draw down on the money. So I am at a loss for a minister responsible for finance to come before us and say to us that he doesn't know what it is. You know what this means? It is an attempt by the government of the day, the President Akufo-Addo Bawumia government, to hide behind technicalities, to hide their opulence. That is what it is. Yeah. They're only hiding behind technicalities, not to provide information to the people of Ghana. But you see, we are not ending there. My colleague, Honorable Sam Ablakwa, in fact, is going to ask another question, and we expect the Minister for National Security to come and to give us that details. So the matter will not end today, and it will not end tomorrow. He's here, and he will also speak to the matter. But let me conclude by saying that what has happened today is a bad precedent. It is not good for our governance. It has drawn our governance to the lowest level. We should not allow this to continue. The people's representative has the power to ask the question. In fact, it is only Parliament that has the power of the purse. It is only Parliament that can ask some of these important questions. For a minister to hide behind some of these technicalities and not to give detail to the people's representative, I find it not acceptable. It's a sad day for our democracy, and I'm sure governance experts will express a lot of worry. I'm worried myself, and you shouldn't allow this to happen.
Well, Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Marking says the minority is only playing mischief. He told the media government has nothing to hide.
The minister took time to explain in detail how said expenditures are carried out. One, that there is a general release to Office of Government Machinery. We all know that every year funds are released for Office of Government Machinery, which include Office of the President, the Vice President, Chief of Staff, and other agencies that operate directly under the Office of Government Machinery. The Minister of Finance again explained to the satisfaction of Parliament that with respect to these, there is a relationship, a coordination between Office of the Chief of Staff and that of National Security Secretariat, and that this particular issue of presidential travels falls under that scope, and that the National Security Minister is best placed to give the specific details. Now, for the avoidance of doubt, this is what the minister's answer provides. The last paragraph. Mr. Speaker, the President's domestic and international travels are matters to do with national security. The National Security Minister is best placed to furnish this Honorable House with the details needed. What that means is that the Honorable MPs who asked this question would have to now utilize a parliamentary platform under our rules to file questions specifically to the National Security Minister to come and provide the details. Our rules are clear that ministers answer questions that are under their official line of duty. So you cannot ask the Minister of Finance, because he's a Minister of Finance and he has released money to the Water Resources Ministry, he should come and answer questions that relate to how monies are spent at the Water Resources Ministry or at the Defense Ministry. So you see, it must also be emphasized that all the supplementary questions by Honorable Ablakwa were overruled by Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker had the occasion to call him to order. So for him to come out to raise issue that has to do with lack of transparency is neither here nor there. Suffice to state that he himself had provided figures, and he put these figures out there on his social media handle. Where did he get those figures from? If indeed he already has the figures, the cost, then why is he asking the Minister of Finance to provide figures? So there is a whole lot of political mischief. The aim of his press conference is to tarnish the hard-won reputation of the Minister of Finance. It is for political point scoring, and I am saying that if he is minded to know the facts, the opportunity is there for him to file a question to the National Security Minister to come and answer. There is no attempt by government to hide information from anybody. In fact, the Minister of Finance never asked for time. I repeated it on the House floor during Business Committee report presentation, that it was Mr. Speaker who directed that at the right time, those questions will be tabled. In any event, he asked a question about the state of our presidential aircraft. The Minister of Finance, Defense came to the House floor to answer. Never has any minister in this MPP administration run away from Parliament. Never in the history of the Fourth Republican Constitution has ministers ever received more questions than this regime. Look at the records. From 1992 to date, during NDC time, how many times ministers came to Parliament? Sometimes, I remember when we were in opposition, there were questions that we filed that never got even admitted. But today, there are more and more questions that are admitted day in, day out. So for an NDC member of Parliament, Mr. Ablakwa, to come and say that this government is not committed to good governance is rich, to say the least. Very, very rich.
Away from Parliament, Dr. George Ekufu Dampare has been appointed Acting Inspector General of Police. He's taken over from James Opombwenu, who begins his terminal leave on August 1st. A statement announcing the appointment of COP Dampare also named a new acting director of the prison service. Here's details of the statement that was issued by the presidency, and it says the President of the Republic, Nana Akufo-Addo, has directed the Inspector General of Police, Mr. James Opombwenu, to embark on terminal leave with effect from Sunday, 1st August 2021, pending his retirement from the police service on Thursday, 7th October 2021. Until a substantive Inspector General of Police is appointed in accordance with the dictates of the Constitution, President Akufo-Addo has asked Commissioner of Police George Ekufu Dampare to serve as Acting Inspector General of Police with effect from Sunday, 1st August 2021. The President has also asked the Director General of the Prisons Service, Mr. Patrick Dakomisa, to go on terminal leave from Sunday, 1st August 2021, with his retirement from the service set to begin on Saturday, 16th October 2021. He has therefore directed the Deputy Director General of the Prison Service, Isaac Kofi Ejiri, to act as Director General of the Prison Service from Sunday, 1st August 2021, until a new Director General is appointed, also in accordance with the Constitution. President Akufo-Addo has conveyed in person his gratitude to both Mr. James Opombuenu and Mr. Patrick Dakomisa for their dedicated and meritorious services to the nation and to the police and prisons services, respectively, and wish them the very best in their future endeavors. And this statement was signed by Eugene Ahin, Director of Communications at the Office of the President. Security expert Kwesi Anin believes the new acting IGP will do a good job. He spoke on PM Express on Wednesday.
He's right for the time, he's prepared, he's thought through what he will do as an IG, he's trained people at multiple levels, he's held different appointments, and he's got the guts to deal with anyone who crosses the line. That is what I like about him. For him, this is not a cushy job where he's going to be polite and friendly to people because they gave him a job. I think those who gave him this job know that the service is rotten to the core and that they want an IGP who, as a commissioner of police, on the Spintex Road, when there's traffic, when people misuse their sirens, he pulled them over and told them to get back into the queue. Okay, he did these things when it could have risked the possibility of his promotion. So this is an officer who knows that the institutional ethos and the culture of the police service goes against the very grain of his upbringing, of his academic training, and the vision that he has for the service, and has throughout his professional career worked hard to ensure that he could marry a sense of professionalism with a duty of care, but more importantly also with friendship, taking the decisions, the operational decisions when necessary, but also being on the front line with his men and women, so that he doesn't take those decisions, sits in the office or goes to sleep, and then expects to receive a report the next morning. He has a hands-on approach to doing policing, and I'm looking forward to our partnership and our collaboration. And I think he has broad shoulders enough to accept the criticisms that certainly will come from Adam and I.
Now, joining me for some analysis on the back of Dr. Dampari's appointment as a retired Assistant Superintendent of Police, Mr. Peter Tobu. He joins me via Zoom. A very good morning to you, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, my dear sister. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Now you...
Please, just a correction. Superintendent retired. You know that one I work for it. The honorable is given to me by the people of Huawei. But the superintendent is mine. I worked for it for 25 years, so just address me properly. It's very important.
Greatly. I give that to you. Apologies. But, you know, okay. Just to say that you worked with a former IGP very closely as Executive Secretary. Did you work closely with this new acting IGP, Dr. Dampari?
Thank you very much. Good morning to our chat viewers. I worked closely with Dr. Dampari when he was the Director General of Finance during the time of Mr. Portawia Koe, where I also served as the Executive Secretary to the then IGP. I also worked with him when he was actually, surprisingly to many people, maintained as the Director General of Finance again under Mr. Mohammed Ahmed Al-Hassan. Surprisingly, because it has not been happening. It hasn't happened. It doesn't easily happen that a new IGP comes and maintains the man who is in charge managing the purse. It doesn't even happen. Even though the IGP is the spending officer, there are always changes. So I have also worked with him during Mr. David Asampina's time when he was appointed as the Director General of Operations. So I've known Dr. Dampari both professionally and personally. We go to church together. I have known him from that religious angle. I know the family. So he's somebody that I can speak a bit about, both private and professional. And I think that the president has made a choice. It is a natural choice, though, because he is GP2 as we speak. He's the commissioner in charge of operations, and by the police echelon, he's GP2. So what the president has done is to ask GP2 to just move one step ahead to take over from GP1, who has been asked to take his accumulated leave, go on his terminal leave, and also have some rest. It's very important.
So, you know, some people who know him, maybe not as closely as you do, say that he's a very fine gentleman. And some also, as we've heard Professor Enin also say that he's the best man for the job. At this particular time in our security system, what kind of IGP do we need? Essentially, with his appointment as well, what do you expect that he will do?
Thank you very much. And but I always say policing is not about being a fine gentleman. If you can explore the advantages associated to your fineness, your gentility, to inspire the system, to motivate and let the morale be high, that is where you begin to perform. But if it's just all about being a fine gentleman, it doesn't work like that in security. Sometimes you just have to be rough. Sometimes you have to be tough. It depends upon who you are, reading and understanding the circumstances surrounding the security situation in the country. As we speak today, we are looking for an IGP who will come and say, yes, I understand that violent crime has become a challenge. I understand that crowd control and management has become a challenge. I understand that military role in internal security is becoming a challenge. I do also understand that the morale of the Ghana Police Service has dropped to a level unacceptable. So if you understand all these things, what can you do to rectify? What can you do to motivate the men and women in uniform? But for Dr. Dampari, the young constable, the young corporal, the young sergeant, the young inspector sees themselves in him because he's been a constable before. He moved from constable to the top, and he's become the acting IGP. So the constable see him as their colleague, the sergeant see him as their colleague, the inspector see him as one of them. Also, people who believe that education is important to bring policing to another level, because policing has become a science now. People who believe that they want to do their masters, they want to do a PhD, they want to do a first degree, they want to do some professional courses to enhance their capacity. They see themselves in Dr. Dampari because he's an academician, and also he's a professional police officer. So if you blend the two, all I always say is that he should be able to assemble a team of people who understand his vision and support him to achieve it. It's all about teamwork. You can be the best person in the police service. If you're appointed by the president as an IGP and you can't assemble the best team, you are bound to fail. The best team working to support the best IGP, Ghana will be a very peaceful place.
Can he assemble the best team to do this job?
If you and I are talking to the people listening to us now, if the president who appointed him, if the politicians who are in the system will say, we know your capability and we know that you know the people who you can work with, and you know all the commissioners who are with you, you know all the deputy commissioners, their capacities and capabilities, you know all the assistant commissioners, please have a free hand, put your team together, and let's give it 6 months to see what you can do. If we are able to give him that free hand to assemble his team, I don't have any doubt that he will put square pegs in square holes, round pegs in round holes, and the security of this country, very particularly the internal security, will turn for the good.
There are those who also say that because a person is appointed in an acting capacity, they don't have the room to do their job as they would have if they were appointed substantive, in a more substantive, you know, with all the windows shut. With your experience, as you work very closely with a former IGP, is there a difference if you're acting or if you have that title totally to yourself?
Thank you very much. I think one of the things that I've never liked and I will never like is an acting position. Acting position is always suicidal because you don't have the muzzle. You are acting, and in fact, there is history to guide us. Madam Mills Robertson was an acting IGP. She was finally now confirmed, and somebody else was appointed. So the fact that you are acting, you don't have the muzzle to do what you want to do. But I think that is just procedure that he acts pending the phasing out of the current IGP, Mr. James Opombwano. After that, we expect the president to confirm him immediately, because confirming him will give him the muscle to be able to stand as Inspector General of Police. Because police is command and control, and it's a unitary command. The command rests with the Inspector General of Police. He should have the power, he should have the authority. And that authority doesn't come so much with an acting position. So let's trust the president that in this facing out period, when Mr. James Opomwanu faces out of office, Dr. Dampare will be confirmed so that he will have what it takes to assemble his team and put them to work. And within a period of time, we'll be able to see what the security of Ghana looks like, because everybody is talking about the security challenges. And without security, we can't have development. Let's all give him the maximum support.
Great. What's the immediate thing that you expect that he would do?
The immediate thing I expect him to do is be able to bring morale back into the service. Morale is down, and on many occasions, morale is what drives the police organization. He should bring morale back. He should bring citizen trust back. He should be able to let us understand that the police is in charge of internal security. Let's ensure that we deploy effectively. If it is a crowd control thing, please deploy the experts who are the formed police unit. And let's ensure that every region in this country will have at least a single formed police unit. And I'm sure professionally we will have a clear way to go.
There are many challenges also facing the police force apart from the political interferences that you talk about. What are some of the things that he has to get over with quickly in order to be successful?
Quickly, he has to assemble a team. Quickly, he has to do a shake-up. Quickly, he has to appoint regional commanders who can work for him to be able to go and sleep. When you find the IGP in town also doing patrol, it means that the commanders who are in charge of the ground are not up to the task. The IGP should have a conceptual skill. The IGP should have a strategic brain. The IGP should be up there directing affairs and making sure that his oversight responsibility over the commanders is top enough. And the IGP should be able to have a reflective memory to be able to understand that if something happens today and it's not good enough, I don't need it to be repeated tomorrow. So at that point, the IGP should be central enough to understand the happenings around the country and be able to monitor all his men and women on the ground and give them instructions as appropriate. Because in the police service, there is something that we say that the IGP is a spirit. We say it's a spirit because the IGP gives directive, you never see him. Anytime you sit at the police station and you see something, they say, Impol directs, IGP directs. You run to do what is supposed to be done because this is a directive coming from the Inspector General of Police. You may never meet him in your life, in your policing career, but you have taken instructions from him and acted appropriately to ensure that Ghana is peaceful. So these are the few things that I want him to look at. The morale of the men, trust of the citizenry, and let's ensure that our operational wing is well developed to cater for the many demonstrations that are likely to happen because we're in a democracy.
The shake-up you mentioned, though, is it his call or that's the president's call?
No, that is within the remit of the Inspector General of Police. It's not the president. The president has given an appointment. If you think that the people in various positions can still be there and work for you, so be it. That is your choice. But the president will not take it from you if you go and sleep and at the end of the day, the results are not coming. Normally, shake-up associated with new appointment is a normal thing. And I won't be surprised that if he's finally taken over as acting IGP, he will act effectively to show that if he's confirmed, he will have the muscle to turn things around.
Just finally, I see that he has a lot of goodwill because we've seen typically even those in opposition say very good things about him and they're all wishing him well. But what is that one thing that he's got to do in order to succeed?
That one thing he ought to do to succeed is to read the minds of the people, that they're looking at him as a unifier in the policing echelon. They are looking at him not to be partisan in his approach to policing. They are looking at him to be very professional, and they are looking at him to bring his intellect, his academic experiences, and laurels to bear on professional policing. They are looking at him to bring what we call smart policing. Academia plus professional policing, getting into research, and guiding police operations. That is why we are talking about Police Intelligence Directorate. That directorate must be reinforced because policing is driven by intelligence. Without intelligence, you always go on ad hoc basis and you may never succeed. So let's all support him. That is what people are seeing. They are seeing him to be a unifier. They are not seeing him to carry that partisan brain that sometimes people allege that some IGPs carry. For this particular one, it cuts across. And we want him to look at Ghana. The security of Ghana is paramount, not the security of any party or the security of any government. Government is a continuum, but Ghana stands in the middle as the solid country that we all belong to. Let's provide security for Ghana and Ghanaians.
Superintendent retired Peter Tolbooth, thank you very much for your time this morning here on
Always
News
a pleasure.
Desk. He's a former executive secretary to the IGP, now a member of Parliament. Moving on, Parliament's Appointments Committee is expected to vet the Special Prosecutor nominee, Kisi Ejabeng, today. The vetting process, chaired by Chairman Joseph Osei Owusu, is expected to start this morning at Parliament's conference room. Mr. Ejabeng's vetting, when successful and approved, will replace Mr. Martin Amidu, who resigned from the position on November 16, 2020, 3 years after taking over the president's appointment. Well, we're bringing you live visuals from Parliament. As you can tell, the sitting has not started by way of the vetting, but my colleague, our parliamentary correspondent, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, joins me. Joseph, we see on television that the committee has not started the work of vetting. What time will they begin? Hello, Joseph? Hello, Joseph, if you can hear me, I'm asking what time the vetting would start. Well, the special prosecutor, the new special prosecutor nominee is expected to be vetted by Parliament's Appointment Committee today. The process has not started, as we can see on television. My colleague Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is our parliamentary correspondent. He will be joining me to tell us what we should expect. We understand, though, that Mr. Ejabeng is in Parliament currently, but the process has not started. We'll try and see if we can get Joseph Opoku-Gakpo to join us and give us a bit of details. Not quiet, not now. We'll return to the subject. You're watching News Desk. Please stay with us. Well, thank you for your time here on News Desk. Let's go back to our story on the Special Prosecutor nominee, Kisi Ejabeng, who is expected to be vetted by Parliament's Appointment Committee today. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is our parliamentary correspondent. He joins us now for some details. Joseph, I understand that Mr. Kisi Ejabeng is already in Parliament.
I've spotted him around, so we're expecting that the processes will be beginning any moment from now. Let's get some quick expectations from the members of Parliament who will be doing the interrogation of Mr. Kisi Ejabeng himself. The Honourable Mahamayaga is a member of Parliament's Appointment Committee. Honourable, thanks very much for joining us. What are your expectations for today's vetting of Kisi Ejabeng for the position of Special Prosecutor?
Well, I mean, it won't be anything exceptional. I mean, like most appointments, we'll be looking at the eligibility criteria, who is qualified to be a special prosecutor by law. That will be basically the fundamental issue. If you meet the basic legal qualification criteria, then we will now move on to the issues of the establishment, because it was envisaged that the previous special prosecutor would have structurally established the office by now, but unfortunately his tenure was one that we all know what happened, and so as we speak we cannot say that the office really has been established. So the incoming special prosecutor will have that odious task of establishing the structures, the infrastructure that in essence will constitute the office of the special prosecutor. And so we will be asking about his administrative capacity to establish such structures. And then of course one key issue that will be prominent is his capacity to stand his grounds and be independent-minded in the exercise of his mandate as special prosecutor.
Do you think he has that? Do you think he has that as compared to the previous special prosecutor, Martin Amidu?
I will be prejudging that if I gave you an answer. I'm part of the committee that is to examine him and to come to that conclusion. If I told you, even before the vetting, that he has that, then it means that we might as well not vet him. So I won't say for now. I think that it will be after he has answered our questions that we can all collectively, both the public and us as a committee, judge whether he has the capacity. After we've examined his CV and his track record, we'll be able to tell whether he has the capacity to be independent-minded and to stand his grounds against the existing establishment. And so let's wait and see. And then also, you know, given his age and enormous powers that this office comes along with, the office really comes along with enormous powers. I mean, I've experienced the powers, so I can tell you firsthand that the office comes with enormous powers. And so
probably too young for the job. Is that your?
That's the question. The question is he at that age capable of managing those powers with a level of maturity? I mean, I wouldn't say whether age also justified the management of those powers. I won't be able to tell. Honestly, whether age really is a factor. We've seen age, but whether youth is also a factor is something that we will examine, because it really comes with enormous powers. I think that in our hurry to put up a mechanism for fighting corruption, something that we all dread and want to see the back of, I think we vested the office with just too much powers. Question is, how do people manage those powers? Do they have that level of maturity to do that? That's something that I think will come up in the vetting exercise. Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us, the Honorable Mahama Ayarega there. So we're expecting that the session will begin any moment from now with the nominee coming in. Back to you.
All right, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, I'll let you go because I see that all is set really with members taking their seat. It looks like there's the final touches in place before Kisi Ejabing, the new special prosecutor, is vetted today. The appointments committee, members of the committee seated, and Mahama Ayariga given a quick exclusive to Joseph Opoku-Gakpo ahead of this vetting. Some of the things that he's touched on is the fact that they will be looking at his eligibility criteria. He says that this vetting won't be exceptional, but they will be looking at the structural establishment of the office of the special prosecutor, seeing that Mr. Martin Amidu could not quite complete the process. And more importantly, I guess also standing out crucially is the issue of Mr. Kisi Ejabing's capacity to stand his grounds. There are some who also talk about his age. He's 43, and they say that managing the huge powers of the special prosecutor is something that they are not quite clear about. So we're hoping that all these issues will come up as he appears before the committee for this vetting. It will be live here on JoyNews. Right now, though, we take a breather. We will be back with business with Darryl Kwao.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The India-Africa Trade Council, IATC, plans to focus on agriculture and manufacturing sectors to ensure value addition to the continent's raw materials. This is aimed at boosting trade and creating jobs through investment and technology. The council has sworn in Chief Executive Officer of Kingdom Exim Group, James Rajamani, as Chief Chancellor of IATC West Africa. There's more from the ceremony held at Tema.
The mission of IATC is to propel the major integration projects initiated by governments of the countries to their effective realization. It is also to initiate dialogue to eradicate trade deficiencies through multilateral advocacy programs and help credit lines to be shared with Africa's natural resources and human potential. IATC, which was conceptualized last year by the advent of COVID-19, is to build on partnership between India and Africa, which has existed for decades. Chief Chancellor of IATC West Africa, James Rajamani, says it is high time Africa added value to its raw materials and ended reliance on imports.
For the initial stage, we also want to bring, especially in the agriculture area, the sector, we are bringing a lot of transformation in this West Africa as well as in Ghana, bring a lot of changes. So we bring a lot of investment to develop, and most of the raw materials, it is imported from outside West Africa. So I bring that everything should be like everything is in-house as the vision of our president. So we'll bring everything reality and more investment into a lot of farming activities and also the raw material produced in Ghana.
Meanwhile, Namibian High Commissioner to Ghana, Selma Ashipala Musavi, believes the initiative will create more jobs for the youth.
I believe that the India-Africa Trade Council is a building block for the Africa we want. It is initiatives such as this between African business people and Indian business people which will make Africa